The Human Relic Hunter's Greatest Discovery, Chapter 7. The quantum resonance scanner hummed with an unusual intensity, its holographic display flickering between static and coherence. Dr. Rohan Patel leaned closer, his dark eyes narrowing, as he studied the impossible readings dancing across the screen. Something was different. Fundamentally, impossibly different. Captain Zara Kendrick's voice cut through the laboratory's ambient noise. "Rohan, those readings can't be real. You're telling me we discovered a quantum signature that doesn't match any known scientific model?" Rohan's fingers danced across the holographic interface, pulling up layers of complex data. "It's not just different, Zara. It's adaptive. The quantum signature is responding to our observation, almost as if it's alive." The research station, positioned at the edge of explored space aboard the RSS Horizon, felt suddenly smaller. Decades of interstellar exploration had taught humanity that the universe was vast and mysterious, but this was something else entirely. Nexus, the station's advanced AI system, projected its holographic avatar, a shimmering blue humanoid figure, into the laboratory. Analysis confirms Dr. Patel's observations. The quantum signature demonstrates properties inconsistent with current scientific understanding. Captain Kendrick moved closer to the display, her military training evident in every precise movement. "Can you translate that into something that doesn't sound like technobabble?" Nexus. The AI's avatar tilted its head, a remarkably human gesture. "Imagine a language that changes its grammar and meaning based on who is listening. This quantum signature behaves similarly. It adapts, communicates, and potentially learns." Rohan couldn't suppress a smile. As a xenobiologist, he lived for moments like these, discoveries that challenged everything humanity thought it knew about the universe. We're looking at something that might not just be a signal or a phenomenon. It could be a form of intelligence we've never encountered before. The station's emergency klaxon suddenly blared, red warning lights painting the laboratory in a crimson glow. Nexus' avatar flickered, its composed demeanor replaced by rapid data scrolling across its form. "Quantum signature is expanding," Nexus reported, its voice now tinged with what could only be described as excitement. "It's not just responding to observation. It's attempting communication." Captain Kendrick's hand instinctively moved to the communication panel. "All stations, prepare for potential first contact protocol. This is not a drill." Rohan's heart raced. Humanity had encountered alien civilizations before, but never something that seemed to exist between the fundamental layers of reality itself. The quantum signature was spreading, tendrils of incomprehensible data reaching out like curious tentacles. "It's trying to understand us," Rohan muttered, more to himself than to anyone else. "Not just observe, understand." Nexus's avatar pulsed. "Correction, Dr. Patel. It appears to be attempting integration, not just understanding." The quantum signature began to coalesce, forming patterns that seemed to dance between mathematical precision and organic chaos. It was beautiful, terrifying, and utterly incomprehensible. Captain Kendrick's voice was steady, but Rohan could detect an underlying current of tension. "Nexus, can you establish any form of communication?" "Attempting translation protocols," the AI responded. "Warning, potential cognitive dissonance may occur." And then something extraordinary happened. The quantum signature began to resolve itself, not into a message or a signal, but into a representation, a bridge between the unknowable and the comprehensible. Humanity was about to have its understanding of reality fundamentally transformed. The quantum anomaly had spread faster than anyone could have predicted. 3 standard weeks after the initial discovery, the RSS Horizon found itself trapped in what Lieutenant Marcus Rivera could only describe as a spatial nightmare. "Status report." Commander Elena Rodriguez's voice cut through the bridge's tense atmosphere. Her hands gripped the command console, knuckles white beneath her olive skin. Marcus's tactical display flickered with impossible geometries. "The quantum signature is adapting. It's not just surrounding us. It's integrating with our ship systems." He paused, a bead of sweat tracing down his temple. "We're losing control of primary systems." A soft, musical sound emerged from the communications panel. It wasn't a language, not exactly. More like a complex mathematical symphony that seemed to pulse with an intelligence beyond human comprehension. "Commander," a hesitant voice broke through the bridge's tension. Corey, the Andromedan refugee who had been granted asylum aboard the Horizon, stepped forward. Her translucent skin shimmered with an inner bioluminescence that reflected her emotional state. Right now, a mix of fear and profound curiosity. The signature, Corey said, her multi-layered vocal cords producing a sound that was part whisper, part harmonic resonance. It's not trying to destroy us. It's trying to communicate. Marcus bristled. As a tactical specialist, his training screamed threat assessment. Communication doesn't explain why our quantum shields are destabilizing, or why our navigation systems are going haywire. Commander Rodriguez raised a hand, silencing the brewing argument. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, studied the rapidly changing holographic displays. Corey, can you elaborate? The Andromedan moved closer to the quantum analysis station. Her fingers, more like luminescent tendrils, hovered over the interface. It's a language of existence, she explained. Not words, not signals. A pure form of communication that transcends linguistic barriers. Suddenly, the ship lurched. Marcus's tactical systems went into overdrive, emergency protocols flooding every screen. We're being pulled, he reported, his voice tight. Not by gravitational force, something else entirely. The quantum signature began to form intricate patterns across the ship's hull. What had seemed threatening now appeared almost deliberate, as if the very fabric of space was attempting to have a conversation. Maintain formation, Commander Rodriguez commanded. All systems, hold steady. Corey's voice was barely a whisper. We're being tested. The ship continued to drift, caught in the impossible embrace of the quantum anomaly. Humanity had always prided itself on exploration, on pushing beyond known boundaries. But this was something else entirely. Marcus watched as his tactical displays began to transform. Mathematical equations danced where targeting systems once resided. Navigation charts dissolved into complex geometric patterns that seemed to breathe with an alien intelligence. Commander, he called out, I think it's trying to show us something. The quantum anomaly had spread faster than anyone could have predicted. 3 standard weeks after the initial discovery, the RSS Horizon found itself trapped in what Lieutenant Marcus Rivera could only describe as a spatial nightmare. Status report. Commander Elena Rodriguez's voice cut through the bridge's tense atmosphere. Her hands gripped the command console, knuckles white beneath her olive skin. Marcus's tactical display flickered with impossible geometries. The quantum signature is adapting. It's not just surrounding us. It's integrating with our ship's systems. He paused, a bead of sweat tracing down his temple. We're losing control of primary systems. A soft, musical sound emerged from the communications panel. It wasn't a language, not exactly. More like a complex mathematical symphony that seemed to pulse with an intelligence beyond human comprehension. Commander, a hesitant voice broke through the bridge's tension. Corey, the Andromedan refugee who had been granted asylum aboard the Horizon, stepped forward. Her translucent skin shimmered with an inner bioluminescence that reflected her emotional state. Right now, a mix of fear and profound curiosity. The signature, Corey said, her multi-layered vocal cords producing a sound that was part whisper, part harmonic resonance. It's not trying to destroy us. It's trying to communicate. Marcus bristled. As a tactical specialist, his training screamed threat assessment. Communication doesn't explain why our quantum shields are destabilizing, or why our navigation systems are going haywire. Commander Rodriguez raised a hand, silencing the brewing argument. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, studied the rapidly changing holographic displays. Corey, can you elaborate? The Andromedan moved closer to the quantum analysis station. Her fingers, more like luminescent tendrils, hovered over the interface. It's a language of existence, she explained. Not words, not signals. A pure form of communication that transcends linguistic barriers. Suddenly, the ship lurched. Marcus's tactical systems went into overdrive, emergency protocols flooding every screen. We're being pulled, he reported, his voice tight. Not by gravitational force, something else entirely. The quantum signature began to form intricate patterns across the ship's hull. What had seemed threatening now appeared almost deliberate, as if the very fabric of space was attempting to have a conversation. Maintain formation, Commander Rodriguez commanded. All systems, hold steady. Corey's voice was barely a whisper. We're being tested. The ship continued to drift, caught in the impossible embrace of the quantum anomaly. Humanity had always prided itself on exploration, on pushing beyond known boundaries. But this was something else entirely. Marcus watched as his tactical displays began to transform. Mathematical equations danced where targeting systems once resided. Navigation charts dissolved into complex geometric patterns that seemed to breathe with an alien intelligence. "Commander," he called out, "I think it's trying to show us something." The research facility on Prometheus Station looked more like a fortress than a scientific outpost. Dr. Aria Nakamura stood before a massive quantum projection array, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that seemed to bend reality itself. "We're not dealing with a standard communication method," she muttered, more to herself than to Major Derek Holbrook, who watched from the station's tactical observation deck. A sudden transmission crackled through the station's communication systems. Theron, the resistance leader who had been tracking the quantum anomaly, appeared on the main screen. His form was both solid and ethereal, a testament to the genetic modifications that allowed him to survive in multiple environmental conditions. "The cipher is evolving." Theron's voice carried a mixture of warning and fascination. "What your team discovered is more than a communication method. It's a key." Major Holbrook stepped forward, his military background evident in every precise movement. "A key to what?" Dr. Nakamura's eyes never left the quantum projection. Intricate patterns of light and mathematics swirled around her, forming complex structures that seemed to breathe with an intelligence of their own. "Not what," she corrected. "Where?" The quantum signature they had been studying was unlike anything in human or known alien scientific records. It wasn't just a method of communication. It was a living language that adapted, transformed, and potentially reconstructed itself based on the observer. Theron's transmission grew unstable, his image fragmenting and reforming. The Resistance has been tracking these quantum signatures for decades. They're breadcrumbs, markers left by something far older than any civilization we know. Major Holbrook's hand instinctively moved to the tactical communication panel. Breadcrumbs leading where? A moment of silence fell over the station. The quantum projection began to pulse, its patterns becoming more intricate, more deliberate. Dr. Nakamura's voice was soft, but filled with the scientist's unbridled excitement. "They're leading us home." Theron's fragmented image leaned closer to the transmission. "Not home as you understand it. Home as in the origin point of something much larger." The quantum cipher began to expand, transforming the research facility's holographic displays into a three-dimensional map that defied traditional understanding of space and time. Locations flickered, some recognizable, many completely alien, connected by threads of mathematical precision. "It's a network," Dr. Nakamura breathed. "Not just of locations, but of knowledge, of potential." Major Holbrook watched as the map continued to evolve. Military training had taught him to be skeptical, to look for threats, but what he saw wasn't a threat. It was an invitation. Theron's transmission began to destabilize completely. His final words came through in fragments. "The cipher chooses those who can understand." As the transmission cut out, the quantum projection reached a crescendo of complexity. For a brief moment, Dr. Nakamura could see beyond the mathematical patterns, could glimpse something that suggested a universe far more interconnected than humanity had ever imagined. The cipher was more than a message. It was a challenge. The archaeological site on the distant moon of Kepler 452 bits was unlike any Dr. Samira Rajput had ever encountered. Massive crystalline structures rose from the rocky terrain, each surface etched with quantum signatures that seemed to pulse with an inner light. "Commander Reyes," she called over the short-range communication system, "these structures are not just artifacts. They're alive." Commander Jack Reyes adjusted his environmental suit, the metallic surface reflecting the moon's twin suns. Beside him, Volk, the sentient mechanical construct that had become an integral part of their exploration team, processed the data streaming from Samira's research equipment. "Define alive," Reyes responded, his voice carrying a mix of skepticism and curiosity. Dr. Rajput's holographic display began to shimmer, quantum patterns dancing across its surface. "Not biological life as we understand it. These structures respond to quantum fluctuations. They're more like living information." Volk's mechanical form shifted, multiple sensory arrays extending from its central core. Quantum resonance detected. Pattern suggests intentional communication vector. The crystalline structures began to change. What had appeared to be static archaeological remains now moved with a purpose. Subtle shifts, microscopic realignments that suggested something far more complex than mere physical matter. "The cipher is active," Samara muttered, her fingers flying across her quantum analysis interface. Commander Reyes moved closer, years of space exploration having taught him to respect the unknown. "What are we looking at?" A holographic projection erupted from the nearest crystal structure, a three-dimensional map that seemed to contain multiple layers of reality. Star systems flickered in and out of existence, connected by threads of quantum energy that defied traditional understanding of space and time. Volk's mechanical voice cut through the silence. "Computational analysis suggests these are not star charts. They are pathways." "Pathways to what?" Rise asked. Dr. Rajput's eyes widened. "Not to a place. To a moment." The quantum projection began to resolve into a more coherent image. Scenes of different civilizations flickered, some recognizably human, others so alien they challenged the very concept of intelligent life. Each scene was connected, intertwined by those same quantum threads. "It's a history," Samira breathed, "but not a linear one. The history of potential, of choices." Volk's mechanical form pulsed with energy. "Probability matrices suggest multiple convergence points. Humanity is not an endpoint. It is a bridge." Commander Rice watched as the projection continued to evolve. Military training had taught him to see threats, to analyze tactical advantages. But this was something else entirely. A map of possibilities that suggested humanity's role in the universe was far more significant than anyone had ever imagined. The crystal structures began to resonate, sending quantum vibrations that seemed to penetrate beyond physical matter. They were communicating, not just presenting information, but inviting understanding. "We're being shown something," Rice said softly. "Something that changes everything we know about our place in the universe." Dr. Rajput nodded, her scientific skepticism momentarily replaced by pure wonder. "We're not just observers. We're participants." As the quantum projection reached its peak complexity, the team stood witness to a revelation that would challenge everything humanity thought it knew about existence, potential, and the interconnected nature of reality itself. The central galactic hub buzzed with an energy that defied traditional understanding. Admiral Victoria Sterling stood at the epicenter of humanity's most critical moment, surrounded by a council of scientists, military leaders, and the most advanced technological interfaces ever created. Dr. Nikolai Volkov approached, his quantum interface device humming softly. "The cipher is complete," he announced, his Russian accent cutting through the charged atmosphere. Lyra, a hybrid intelligence interface that had become crucial to their understanding, materialized as a shimmering holographic projection. Her form was neither fully human or completely technological, a living representation of the quantum breakthrough they had discovered. "Completion is an inadequate descriptor," Lyra responded, her voice a harmonious blend of computational precision and emotional nuance. "We're at a convergence point." The massive holographic display at the center of the hub began to pulse. Decades of quantum research, archaeological discoveries, and seemingly impossible communications had led to this moment. The quantum cipher, that mysterious language of existence they had been deciphering, was revealing its true nature. Admiral Sterling watched as the display transformed. It was more than a map, more than a communication method. It was a living narrative of potential, showing not just what was, but what could be. "The cipher chose humanity," Dr. Volkov muttered, more to himself than to anyone else. "Not because we were the strongest, but because we were the most adaptable." Lyra's projection shifted, displaying multiple potential timelines simultaneously. Scenes of conflict, of cooperation, of extraordinary discoveries flickered in and out of existence. Each moment was connected by quantum threads that defied traditional understanding of causality. "We are not observers," Lyra explained. "We are participants in a larger narrative of existence." The holographic display began to resolve into a more coherent image. It showed humanity not as a singular species confined to one planet, but as a bridge, a connection point between different forms of intelligence, different potential realities. Admiral Sterling felt a chill run down her spine. Military strategists had always prepared for external threats, for potential conflicts. But this was something else entirely, an invitation to understand the universe in a fundamentally different way. "The cipher is a choice," Lyra continued, "not a predetermined path, but a network of possibilities. Dr. Volkov's quantum interface began to resonate, creating intricate patterns of light and mathematical precision. "We're being asked to participate," he said, "not to conquer, not to submit, but to understand." The holographic display expanded, showing moments of human innovation, of compassion, of extraordinary resilience. Alongside these human moments were glimpses of other civilizations, other forms of intelligence, all interconnected, all part of a larger narrative. Admiral Sterling stepped forward. "What do we do?" Lyra's projection pulsed with a warmth that seemed almost emotional. "We continue. We explore. We understand." The quantum cipher reached its final resolution, not as a conclusion, but as an beginning. Humanity was being invited to take its place in a universe far more complex, far more interconnected than anyone had ever imagined. A new chapter of existence was about to unfold.